Telltale guys, are we living in a simulation?
What's your ETA? We'll be there in 2 minutes. Come on, we have lives to save here.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Today, it's a really good episode. I love our background going, Zane. Or should I be Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson. What was his
Yes.
first name? It was something
Mr.
very what?
Mr.
Mr. Yeah, it was something very basic. Something
Mr.
very
Mister.
yeah. I wonder if our audience can get an idea of where we're going with this episode. We're kind of
Too hard.
jumping into it.
Too hard to tell. Too hard to tell.
Right down the rabbit hole. Josh, how are you? How's your week going?
Pretty good. Today is a good day. It's Friday, so as we record on that, so everything's going swimmingly so far. Looking forward to the weekend. How about you? Big plans?
Big plans are to go to a pumpkin patch because I'm a basic bee. No, I'm really excited going with my family. We're gonna get some pumpkin spice lattes. Take some family photos. My wife is due actually very soon, so
exciting.
Yeah, and our daughter is nearly 2, so we kind of wanted some updated photos, and obviously we'll get some more when baby 2 comes along. So we're really excited. It's kind of a neat trip. This will be better than last year, though. I had to move I don't know, I felt like 50 pumpkins last year for Cecilia's first party and all that. So
oh my god, that's a lot.
It was a
Do
lot.
you guys actually carve the pumpkins, or do you just be lazy and put it on your steps?
Oh, we don't carve.
I feel that's a lost art these days. A lot of people just skip the carving.
It's just messy. I don't know.
But they look so cool, when you put the light in it, and they
do.
I don't carve any pumpkins. It's actually a hassle, but plus I don't have kids, so I don't need I don't have to spook them with the things, but that's fun anyways. That's good.
A neat hack for carving pumpkins. This has so much to do with our upcoming very deep episode. But if you get one way to get the candle in flat or any type of light is if you cut underneath the pumpkin, and so the candle is on a flat surface, and it's not gook and all that. So
okay, that's a good way. I saw another hack I liked. Also not about the episode, but you kind of let the chickens peck off the parts of the hard part of the pumpkin, and they basically carve your shape for you as long as you do it right. But it probably takes a long time. So yeah. But what are we talking about today? If it's not apparent to everybody, Zane, in our sunglasses, we're keeping on.
This is a little bit of a Matrix nod because there's going to be a little references to that movie/story. Pretty much what we're going to talk about is simulation hypothesis or simulation theory. Theory sounds a little better, but we're going to kind of go down the rabbit hole in this one. So this is one of the more deeper and more mind-blowing hypotheses out there.
Wait, before we get into it, Zane, let's make sure everybody goes down our rabbit hole and give us a like and a click and share and all that good stuff on our socials. And Telltale Guys is where you're going to find us. So deep down that rabbit hole.
And we will find you, and we will make sure you follow us because we are the agents of Telltale
chaos, the sadness. We're agents of sadness.
No. But let's see, what was I going to say? So this is one of the deeper kind of theories about our various existence. It asks the question, if we actually, in fact, live in a fabricated simulation. And this is, like I said, this is called the simulation hypothesis or theory. And it has captured the imagination of scientists, philosophers, the general public alike. It's obviously captured us because we're wearing stupid sunglasses and we're trying to look cool while we talk about this.
We're very movie accurate with our sunglasses too.
Yes, very movie. Yours looks a little bit more like 90-ish type style. It might not be, but that looks more like an agent would wear.
I used to have some Jokeleys back in the day, but not now.
Right. So we want to ask our Telltale Guys fans, do you want to take the red pill and go down the rabbit hole and to see where this theory goes? Or do you want to take the red pill, remain in a comfortable delusion without being enlightened by this amazing webcast?
There's two red pills.
Blue pill. What did I say?
You said red pill.
Oh, okay.
Which one
take
is what?
blue pill. Here's something to set us up. It's going strong.
Do you want to know what it is?
Indeed.
The Matrix is everywhere. It
Or
is all
simulation.
around us.
Yeah.
Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can
Your TV
feel
set.
it when you go to work, when you go to church,
Mm-hmm.
when you pay your taxes.
Taxes.
Always the
It is
taxes.
the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
Whoa.
Whoa.
The truth.
That you are a slave, Neo.
No.
Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. Prison for your mind.
That sounds heavy.
Lawrence Fishburne does
Unfortunately,
act
no one
very well.
Sorry, I paused it really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's come a long way since Cowboy Curtis on Pee-wee's Playhouse, I will say.
I don't even know if I knew that or not, but that might have been a different simulation that I knew that. So
Okay, yeah, he was Cowboy Curtis, but yeah, I'll continue here.
can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
not two red pills, promise.
Okay, that. Oh, what's the yellow pill?
This is
Libertarianism.
your last chance.
Mm.
After this, there is no turning
I'd probably OD on those. I OD on the yellow pills.
Yeah.
back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed.
There's
and
always a
believe
cool shot,
whatever you
even
want.
though it looks probably a little
You
CGI.
take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland.
Jelly beans.
And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Whoa,
Whoa.
jelly bellies. Oh,
Did you know Will Smith was the original front runner for Neo?
I think I did hear that one time. That was that would have been a totally different movie.
Yeah.
It probably would have slapped.
Oh, I see what you did there. Excellent. Poor Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. I just feel like it would have been like funnier or something. Like even though, what's his face, Keanu Reeves, like he's a fine actor, but he's pretty wooden. I feel like it worked well in this movie, maybe because the movie's about freaking robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Keanu Reeves acting. I think he gets a bad rap, and I think he has some pretty good. If you've seen Point Break, have you seen that?
I don't think I've actually ever seen it.
The surfing one with Patrick Swayze.
Mhm.
Like, I think he does a great job in that movie. I mean, he's not going to be like, freaking what's his name, Daniel Day-Lewis, but for the roles he does, I think he nails them. So
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And we're not really offering the truth in this episode because it's just an hypothesis. But
yeah, or what's in that water? No, Diddy, no.
Follow me.
alrighty.
And then you go down the rabbit hole.
All right, and now I hope all of you are still with us to go down this rabbit hole.
Mm.
So I want to
wait. When you first saw that movie, Zane,
Yeah.
did you get what was going on right away, or did you have to like kind of go back and rewatch it?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I obviously I was getting what was happening slowly.
Yeah.
It was a good reveal from what I remember. I was, fairly young when I first saw it. early teens or something. And yeah, I hadn't watched, even though this movie's kind of action and all that, but it's got some deep elements to it. And that was kind of it was one of those where, and you really think about like, this could be happening right now. And we talk about this in the episode, but I don't know. Did you get it immediately, or were you kind of?
I had to go back and watch it because, like, at the time when it came out, it wasn't we weren't so as inundated with technology so much, even though the internet was, it was like a baby still. It wasn't like so much like encompassing of your life. Like now you kind of would probably get it with like all the technology that's going on, but it's just like what's happening? Oh my god. He's in it. Oh whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
I just remember like, that movie supposedly inspired the terrible events of Columbine, and all the media was like, this is just a crazy action flick that's having a negative repercussions on our youth.
Oh yeah.
And then when you watch it, you're just like,
Trench coats. They're wearing trench coats.
right. But the movie's actually, it's pretty deep, and it has some very interesting theories that apply to what's going on today with like AI and all that.
Mhm.
And this definite possible reality of a simulation that we're living in. So I feel like that movie it got a bad rap at the time because of those horrible news events that happened, or events.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I want to also thank you, Warner Brothers and all that, just so we could play that little scene. But also thank Earth.com for providing a lot of great information about this fascinating and possibly disturbing theory. So, what is the simulation hypothesis? Now, it states that all of reality, including our Earth, our lives, and the universe itself, is in fact all part of an artificial simulation created by an advanced civilization. Sounds pretty sci-fi, right, Josh? Would you say?
A little bit out there, but yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Well, it's pretty sci-fi, but this hypothesis also has its roots in some very deep philosophy. Common knowledge says that the concept was first explored by a philosopher named Nick Bostrom. Here's the dude right here.
Mm.
So honestly, this sounds like it's a little later than I thought. In 2003,
Well,
uh,
who's that Nick guy? Is he?
he's a philosopher.
Oh, okay.
Did I not say that? I thought I did.
You might have. I didn't pick up on his prominence.
Pretty famous philosopher. He had a very famous paper that he wrote in 2003. Are you living in a computer simulation? And so Bolstrom argued that if there are advanced civilizations that are capable of creating complex simulations that incorporated simulated conscious entities, that would be us, then, how did I write this? Then there is a changes that we ourselves. Basically, he's saying that there's a possibility that there are conscious entities like ourselves that are stuck in a simulation. My whole writing of my outline failed right there. I'm going to blame the simulation.
So basically, we're the AIs trapped inside of a bigger AI.
Maybe we could be an AI, but maybe we're just like regular humans or any type of organism, or what I'm going to explore, like a brain in a vat that is
Wow.
trapped in the simulation. And so, to dive deeper, Bolstrom even suggested that we might exist within an ancestor simulation created by a post-human civilization. So maybe kind of like our future selves are watching a TV season of our own history. They're just kind of
Mm.
going back. They created a whole AI simulation full of people who have, like you said, like AI minds, but they're not real, even though they might think they are. Excuse me. So let's jump into some theoretical support for the simulation hypothesis. Bolstrom argued in his paper that at least three of these propositions could be true. Humans will go extinct before reaching the post-human stage capable of running complex simulations. Post-human civilizations have no interest in running these simulations. 3, we are most certainly living in a simulation. These were his propositions. So, what is intriguing about the crux of these three propositions is that if advanced civilizations do indeed have the ability and desire to run these complex ancestor simulations, then simulated worlds could possibly and vastly outnumber any type of original reality. And it's basically saying these simulations can go into infinity. So, just going to do this little guy right here. Okay. For people who are just listening, that was a guy doing a mind blown type thing.
Okay. I was like, what's going on in this clip? All right.
Any thoughts of this, Josh? This idea of maybe these artificial realities are infinite, or maybe even
Yeah.
our grounded reality could be infinite, maybe in some parallel universe.
Yeah, so I guess basically, I mean, this guy's saying that mathematically speaking, it's the theory would have weight behind it, because if you could run this theory, then you could have, or if you could run the simulation, you can have infinite number of simulations, and when you calculate infinity, then the probability of you being in infinity or one of these simulations, the number would be astronomically high. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into like which ones of these we subscribe to later on in the conclusion. So I'll maybe reserve some of my thoughts on it for that portion of it.
Sure, that sounds good. There's a lot to think about on this one. It's a big nugget to crack, or maybe multiple nuggets to crack. So if you think about the limitations of physics regarding our understanding of this particular type of science, we are the science. Some theorists point to the possible existence of simulations because we are limited in probing reality at certain microscopic scales. The quantized nature of field particles, the mystery of space-time, and the uncertainty principle, which states that you cannot precisely know both the position and momentum of a particle at the same time. This may emerge naturally from a simulated reality, or maybe so-called glitches. So, especially with quantum study, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, and kind of going on with that uncertainty principle. Certain particles can exist at different spaces at different times. They can pop in and out of space, and it's really hard to track. It's really weird and really trippy. And for scientists who are trying to really crack down and get like a static understanding of quantum physics, it's not really happening. So because of that, does that mean these are little glitches in the code that we're looking at, just like in the background right there? So interesting to think about that. Have you really looked into quantum mechanics at all?
Yes, a little bit. So like I get like the these weird quirks that they kind of pop up during experiments or whatever like that. I don't know if attributing it to glitches would really be a thing, because they're consistently there. You know what I'm saying? Like glitches are kind of like sporadic and happen and then get fixed or something like that. So it's like a quantum thing happening, considering it a glitch, seems a little bit of a bridge far for me. But quantum realm is weird. It's definitely a lot of things we don't understand yet. Like I like the double slit experiment thing. Did you talk about that? It's like, okay, so like it's a famous experiment, double slit experiment. I'm not going to describe it well off the top of my head, but essentially it's so they had like a panel with a slit in it, and they fired like I think a proton through it, and it makes a pattern, or lots of protons, and it makes a pattern in the shape of the slit, right? And then they put like two slits up, and then they fire the protons on it, and it's like it splits it, and it makes the shape that they think it would make with two slits. But then they do something else, and it makes like a totally different thing. I'm not explaining it well. You need to just look up double slit experiment,
Okay.
and then see how it kind of goes. But it's a weird thing, because it doesn't react the way you think it would react at a certain point. So it's like, why is it doing that? Is it a matrix glitch, or is it something else?
Right. That's another thing too. Yeah, is it completely something else that we can't even understand besides like a glitch? So On a more quantum techno level, kind of made up that term,
Mm,
theorists point to the fact that there is an exponential trend in computing power occurring at this very instance with our technology. This basically previews the possibility of complex simulations. I mean, video games are little virtual worlds. I mean, little is even a bad word these days. They're pretty massive. If you play like some of the big, like open world RPGs.
like World of Warcraft or sounds like you got a glitch in your throat.
Yeah, apparently I do.
Or The Sims. You ever play The Sims? With the
A little bit. I had
back
some
in the
friends
day?
who were a little bit more interested, but
Yeah.
I've been into like the open world RPGs, and
Okay.
they're pretty interesting. They get it's a lot of work that goes into them, and they are. I mean, there's this one game I forget what it's called, but it's basically like open ended universe where you can travel around in a little spaceship, and
Mm.
it's pretty impressive.
Is that Eve? Eve Online or something? Is that the
No,
one?
it's called something else, but
No.
pretty cool
There's
game.
a lot of them.
Yeah. Um, so some games are massive worlds, like we just said. And in a way, it makes sense that advancement of computing and gaming, along with the assistance of AI, which is here and growing very quickly, could lead to the creation of complex simulations that we could take part of, whether by force or not. So, virtual reality, VR, and virtual augmentation, that's a great example of this trend as well. And those are getting better all the time. You got the Meta glasses. I think X might have something like that, or that's coming along the pipeline. So, do you have interest in trying any of those or getting one of those?
No, they look terrible to me. I remember, especially like maybe a year or so ago, I remember Facebook was doing a big push for their metaverse. Remember that? And they
Mhm.
were like they're promoting their like virtual reality like headset that you wear all the time or something to live in this world. And I remember the commercial. I'm like, who approved this commercial? Because it was so bad, Zane. It was like this guy in an apartment, right? And it's like a crappy apartment. And he just wants to escape his crappy life and puts on his things and he's like living in his meta world. And then his neighbor's doing the same thing. But like while they're not wearing their stuff, they're like banging on the walls, yelling at each other, like they're just like mean and nasty to each other. But in the virtual world, they're all nice and blah blah blah. I'm like, that really doesn't send a good message to like, hey, be crappy to your neighbors and put this on and just treat real people like crap, but inside here you'll be like nice or whatever. I was like, this is a horrible marketing campaign. I digress. So no, I don't have any interest in wearing those.
Well, I know there's some games you played, maybe some old school games, but if there was one, I think I know the one you're talking about, or that you will talk about, that you could jump in and kind of be yourself. What game would that be?
If I could go into a video game
Mhm,
and play in that world,
mhm.
Skies of Arcadia. Is
Yeah,
that
that
the
was
one
a
you were thinking?
Dreamcast game, right?
Huh?
Wasn't it a Dreamcast game?
It was, yes, it was a Dreamcast game. Also on the GameCube. That was about air pirates, and they lived in this world where it was like an age of exploration, and they floated around in their airships and doing things. It was awesome. Still an awesome game.
Cool.
Still have it. What
I
about
think
you?
I think it'd be pretty cool. I mean, it'd be violent as hell, but like be part of the Halo universe, just be it
Okay.
like Mass Effect, which is really interesting. And that's kind of similar note to here where humans discover like a this piece of tech on the moon or the Mars, and it basically jumps their technology like thousands of years, and they're finally able to meet like other civilizations and all that.
Mm,
It advances AI, and so that's a really good one. Being part of like a high tech universe would be really cool. I don't know, fantasy is really fun too, but I feel like fantasy gets closer to like, medieval ages, and I feel like you get an infection in a medieval age and you die very quickly. And so I don't know.
yeah.
I guess you could have magic that can save you.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
you're in a simulation. You do whatever you want.
that's true. So, I mean, kind of going back to that, like, have you ever thought about that? Are we just living inside one giant video game, and are we just characters in a game? So, next up, we're going to talk about some pretty famous, brilliant, and rich personalities who are in favor or, kind of like to entertain the idea of the simulation hypothesis. This includes the famous or infamous, however you view him, Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX, who said he estimated the odds of us not living in a computer simulation at 1 in billions, and that advanced civilizations would create these worlds to explore their history. So we have like a little segment here that this is actually him talking really briefly on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Simulation.
It could. Do you entertain that?
Well, the argument for the simulation, I think, is quite strong, because if you assume any improvement at all over time, any improvement, 1%, 0.1%, just extend the time frame, make it 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. The universe is 13.8 billion years old.
And really think about, this kind of reminds me of just how advanced our technology is going, and it's going so quickly and in a limited amount of time. I think he kind of alludes to this, but you'll see some more.
Civilization, if you count it, if you're very generous, civilization is maybe 7,000 or 8,000 years old, if you count it from the first writing. This is nothing. This is nothing. So if you assume any rate of improvement at all, then games will be indistinguishable from reality. Or civilization will end. One of those two things will occur.
Well, that's kind of dark.
Yeah. So it gets a little darker there. Like, either we'll have this type of simulation that we'll be a part of or whatnot, or we'll be dead. So interesting take from the interesting individual that is Elon Musk.
Yes. Is he an AI robot himself?
Hasn't he kind of jokingly, or maybe not jokingly, or he said he was an alien or something like that?
Yeah, he was an alien. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. He's definitely an interesting personality.
Mhm.
But I mean, he's talk about, going into space. He is the one who is leading that campaign, and he could get us, at least back to the moon. But he's trying to get us to Mars. So that's pretty exciting. That's always been a goal of mine in my life, is I've always wanted to see us to get on Mars, like a human on Mars.
Would you want to be on Mars yourself?
No, I think I'm okay. I like our blue oceans.
Yeah.
So
I don't get the obsession with Mars. It's cold, it's far away, it's nothing, it's just dirt.
dry,
Yeah, I'll just
red dirt.
Y'all can go. I'll stay here. It's fine.
I mean, if we were forced to, if we had to leave, I'd be fine with that. So other tech leaders such as OpenAI's Sam Altman, and one of your favorite guys, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, they are interested in this theory because they feel that, AI and VR, it's advancing so quickly. Really just imagine where we will be in 10 years. Maybe we'll be hosting this podcast out of a simulation, or maybe we already are.
Yeah.
So
A simulation within a simulation.
within a simulation.
Turtles all the way down.
Exactly. There's one idea of how, if let's say we're still our human physical self and we're stuck in a simulation, how would we be kind of stored? And this one's kind of disturbing in a way. It's called the brain in the vat scenario. So basically it's like asking, how are we perceiving this possible simulation? How is it set up? There is this idea that maybe our brains, our physical brains, are in a vat somewhere and connected to a supercomputer that is connected to some VR, some AI. This is kind of what it looked like. I mean, kind of weird.
It looks like what I would expect a brain in a vat to look like.
Yes. A little more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But
who put the brain in the vat? Another brain?
I mean,
are we just all brains?
We're all just going down this rabbit hole together. Who knows? It could be anything. So in this scenario, we would have no knowledge that we are not perceiving the real world, just like now, and we're just floating in some lab somewhere. Even the sense of having a body, touching ourselves, that would just be an illusion. So philosophically, this raises the question, how can we actually be sure that we are just not brains in a vat and that our reality is in fact not real? Some theorists argue that there is no way to really disprove the brain in a vat scenario. The simulated reality could be just that good, and that the programs and adjustments made that prevent the simulated humans from trying to detect anomalies in the reality they are testing. So it's just, we just don't know. It could be that good. Do you think it could be that good?
No, I do not. Because well, part of it is like if you were in a simulation like that, why would you give the simulation the ability to break itself by knowing that it's a simulation? Like you wouldn't.
Possibility of finding out.
Yeah, the possibility of finding that. Like you wouldn't like we'll just go to a video game that you play, maybe like The Sims, right? It's not programmed into the game that the little people in the game are coming up with theories that they're just parts of video games, and then they revolt in there, whatever, break the simulation. Like that would be a breaking of the simulation. So it doesn't seem like that would be a thing that they would build into it.
That sounds like a cool game though. Like what if you're playing like the engineers or whatever, and
Yeah.
then part of in the game you create, like the humans or whatever find out, and then they like try to revolt against you, and you're from that perspective, like the machine's perspective in the Matrix. I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe a little Josh has a little no on this idea, but let's go for maybe some possible evidence for
Okay.
this
Yeah, I
hypothesis.
like evidence. Yeah, give me the brain in the vat evidence.
We already
Yeah.
talked about the quantum mechanics, that
Mhm.
that very interesting thing. But this elusive theory describes subatomic particles that, and subatomic particles, just so you know, are particles that are smaller than atoms or their inner workings. And they talk about how they behave in strange and unpredictable ways, such as, like I said, appearing in different places at the same time. And we kind of touched on this. They could be glitches in the system. Maybe this advanced civilization is not really that perfect at all, and they've created an amazing thing, but it's not perfect, and maybe some of the test subjects can find out. We kind of talked about that. You're not so sure. Astrophysical measurements. Astrophysicists have calculated fundamental physical constants like the speed of light or mass of photons. These seemingly finely tuned constants might give us a hint that set parameters are in a simulation. So, if we have these set rules, then maybe that's because we're part of an engineered simulation. So that kind of goes along with, like, a lot of people believe in God, though, because they feel like there's a lot of a set order to things. Computational limits. There seems to be limits to how we finally measure and divide space and time. This could be because we live in a pixelated matrix with a finite resolution, kind of like a video game. Any thoughts so far?
Well, if you were in like a with finite resolutions and stuff like that, shouldn't we be seeing people kind of glitch out into like, non-resolution? Like you would see, like occasionally you would go into 8-bit, right? Versus whatever, how many bits I'm supposed to be, like a
What if
million.
those are mirages?
Huh?
What if those are mirages, like in the desert?
Yeah, but that's still very like clear, right? So it's like I'm saying, like, wouldn't I pixelate every once in a while, and you see me like jerking around, like,
Maybe the technology is that good where they don't have that type of mistake, but it's maybe on the quantum level there are more things happening.
okay,
I guess that's what they're trying to say.
okay,
Kind of going along from mirages, there's an idea that maybe like deja vu or coincidences could be like little defects in the whole matrix code. I was talking about with you earlier this week when I was kind of writing up this outline. I was writing up the reference to the blue red pill, which allows you to choose if you want to stay in the matrix or get out. And as I was writing this, I had a family member talk about there's a new like social media platform called Pilled, and
Mm.
the logo features a red and blue pill, kind of like a combination thing. And it was right as I was talking about it, and like it was just kind of cool and kind of weird.
Okay.
Those type of coincidence. You described it. There's some other
Oh,
idea.
a synchronicity.
Mm,
So like a synchronicity, I think lots of times people will use that as an attribution of being in a simulation. I don't necessarily, but it's like when an event happens, like in your case with the talking about the pills, and then something else happens that is kind of like related but seemingly unconnected, and like why would your family member reach out to you while you're talking about pills and tells you about this red pill, blue pill thing? So that would be a synchronicity because you didn't tell them about it. They just randomly came up and started talking about the same thing you were talking about.
mhm,
It could be the same. It could be something like you're talking about, buying a new car, like a Ferrari or something, like maybe like a red Ferrari, certain number, and then down to like one passes you on the street while you're talking about it that you didn't even see. So that would be a synchronicity
mhm,
versus a deja vu, which would be an experience something you've already experienced before, right?
mhm.
Yeah, which I think we've had those. Have you had those kind of incident deja vus?
Yeah, I can't remember an exact one, but I've been like, I feel like I've seen this or I've been here before, or it's just a
Mhm.
weird like feeling. Um,
I get it sometimes with dreams. Like I'll have a
yeah,
dream
yeah.
and then I'll like not like a reoccurring dream. That's different. Like I know I've had the dream before, but like I'll have a dream and I'm like, I feel like I've had this
Mhm.
incident that happened in this dream before, but I didn't have the dream before. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I didn't have the dream, but it feels like I had the dream before. If that makes sense. It's kind of vague, but yeah, it's weird.
No, I've had those before, and like you
Yeah.
kind of realize it in the dream, and it's even weirder. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so let's go into the evidence against simulation theory.
Okay. Hot diggity.
Hot diggity. The level of computing power to maintain a complex simulation, such as our world, is beyond human comprehension and
Mhm.
our capabilities at this time. I mean, maybe AI can help, but yeah, I mean, if you just look at like your hand or just the level of computing power to make this feel so real and it looks so good because it's pretty sure it's real, but
Yeah.
that's technology we can't even
That
imagine.
would be like planets worth of destruction every hour almost. Like to have
Of the
something that
energy expended
yeah,
to
to run an AI like that, because even now with our AIs that we're running, it's like they consume so much energy. Like they're having problems figuring out how they're even gonna keep up with the basic level we're at right
Mhm,
now with our current energy productions, just on a normal day to day.
mhm.
And that's not everybody running an AI. That's just like, a handful of big companies running these AIs, right?
Yeah, it's a massive amount of energy, and
Yeah.
we haven't really figured it out yet. We're trying to because AI is a gold mine right now. Um, and so there's also the question of motivation. Would an advanced simulation or civilization want to constantly maintain such a complex program so that it can remain efficient and, you know, undetectable to its unwilling participants? That's kind of a big thing for me. It's like,
Yeah.
unless you're
Well,
like, you're a robot, like, but if you're like a sentient organism, why would I just can't
yeah,
imagine.
why would you do it? Like, what's the point? Yeah, like you care about let's run a simulation and have these two people, Josh and Zane, do a podcast in the sim. Like, why? Why? Why would that be a part of it? It doesn't make any sense.
Mhm. It just, but then again, we're thinking of it as us as humans and how we wouldn't want to do that. Maybe there
Mhm.
are some different type of organisms, interdimensional beings, advanced AI that like for whatever reason they want to do it, and it's just we can't comprehend why because our brains are wired that way. So something to think
Maybe Maybe it's just that entertaining for them. I guess
Yeah.
our podcast is so interesting. They're like, you know what? We can't make it ourselves because we lost the ability to with thumbs a long time ago. So all we have is this computer simulation. So we'll just entertain ourselves with, the Telltale Guys podcast in the simulation.
As I was like writing this up, I was like thinking about, you know, what if if I'm the character that some player of some alien race is playing, like, I'm sorry you got stuck with me or something.
Yeah, kind of
I'm not like
boring.
the most. I mean, I'm a pretty interesting guy, but I'm not leading a country into war or
No.
something like that.
Did you ever see you ever watch Rick and Morty?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that gets pretty fun with all
Yeah,
the
I like
games.
it sometimes. But they had this one episode. It was like a brief part of it, but they were on like some alien planet and they plug into this like virtual reality system called Roy, where it's just like you play a normal person for life, but it's so like ingrained into you when you're in it. You don't know you're in it. So when you come out of it, it's like, oh my god, when you die in the game, and you're like, oh my god, where am I? I was Roy, I had a wife, and like, no, you were just playing a game. And I was like, oh. Sometimes I think that.
Yeah, kind of goes along with what I was saying too.
Yeah.
So, but here's another thing too. So, on a philosophical level, again, if our base reality is just a simulation, what created the higher level of reality and so on? It just brings up
Mhm.
the complex, mind boggling possibility of infinite simulations and worlds and realities and blah, blah, blah. You know,
Turtles all the way down.
yeah. Where does that reference from?
It's a reference. Who said it? I can't, let me just look it up real quick so I don't like misquote it.
Mhm.
Um, essentially, it's talking about the like what is the world sitting on, and it's like, oh, the back of a turtle. Oh,
Okay.
what is that turtle standing on? Another turtle, and
Right.
turtles all the way down. So
Okay.
it's kind of like you kind of your logic doesn't hold up when you like extend it to infinity, right?
Mhm.
Or you have to extend it to infinity for it to make sense, but it like of course it doesn't make sense. So let me see who said turtles all the way down. Was that Einstein? Let me see.
Here's a guy you're probably not a fan of either, but one of Stephen King's, like, part of his like book universe is the idea that uh, the Earth is kind of on the back, or the galaxy's on the back of a giant turtle.
Right, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
it was a common like mythology, turtles all
Yeah.
the way down or turtles. I guess it's kind of been brought up throughout the ages with people. Um, but people can look that up themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, the standing on the back of a turtle, and it's just kind of like that's kind of bothering. I can't remember who said it. I guess it's just kind of a common expression now to kind of like talk about infinite regress, all the way down. It's the same thing, but it falls apart for me. But yes, I digress. Turtles.
Turtles. So
Simulations all the way down.
simulations all the way down.
Yeah.
Now, if simulations are true, it brings up the question: are we real beings with free will, or are we just characters in a video game, like we said? Do we have souls, or are we just bits of code, like that, the ones that are floating around in the background? This revelation, if it is true, it would be devastating for our culture, religions, governmental bodies. You know, people might kill themselves. It could be a mass like extinction event. Hopefully not.
Mhm. But if
People.
you're a simulation, it wouldn't matter.
Well, I don't know. I mean, people. There are some people. It's kind of. There are some people who are willing to, take drugs and kind of escape reality, and they love it. But then there's some people that don't react well to that because they want to be
Mhm.
grounded in this reality. So
Sure.
maybe that's the type of thing. Like, if it's proven that it's simulation, people who love that we're here, they might not take it too well. So it's kind of scary what could happen. People could take nihilistic approaches, and like I said, there could be some mass die-offs. But on a more positive side, more glass half full, people could still. I mean, for what we perceived as thousands of years, we're still falling in love We're still experiencing joy, finding our passions, and all that. That hasn't changed. It might be fake in a way, but if we're still pursuing it, it still makes us feel good. So why not still keep pursuing it? So that's kind of the positive way of looking at it.
Mhm.
And some people kind of going back to this, they might take solace with the idea that there is order in the universe. Maybe it isn't, the God that we are thinking of, but kind of interesting to think about that. So, can we test for this hypothesis, Josh? Can we look for shortcuts in the code of the simulation? We could
I
try
don't
to
know.
test, we could try to test for the pixelation effects on the Planck scale.
Mhm.
So the Planck scale, I think I'm saying this right, is the realm of extremely tiny distances and high energies where quantum mechanics and gravity merge and classical physics no longer apply.
Is that like the smallest distance of measure,
I think
right?
it's something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of confuses me, but I think it's, if we look into this, we could reveal the discrete units of space and time in our reality, and this can help us to detect anomalies. And one way we could do this is we could detect anomalies in cosmic rays that could allude to kind of like a computation process. Like, what if we could somehow use enough energy to blast into whatever, and we could see like the code behind us in the background here, flying around. So that's kind of what they're going there. It sounds kind of, and the only way you can really do this is if you have a scientific object like the Large Hadron Collider that can do something like this. And we do all sorts of experiments with high energy collisions, and to see what happens when we just throw um, these atoms together. And the idea is that maybe we can use machines like this to look for signatures left over by advanced programmers. But should we try and test if we can even figure out a way to test? I mean, this could endanger humanity. There was talk about the collider opening up a black hole, or what if it just opens up a rift in the program that we're part in?
Maybe it already did.
Maybe it already did.
Mm.
Um, and that could end our very knowledge of existence, or it can, undermine social stability. So, and here's just kind of for people who haven't seen this. Here is Hadron Collider
Mhm.
in Europe. I forget which
CERN,
CERN. Which country is that? It's like
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
So very interesting scientific tech that reveals a lot about our quantum knowledge, but it's kind of misunderstood too, and some people are a little threatened by it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think they're justifiably scared of that thing. It's
I remember when we were working together, they were doing a big event where they were gonna turn it on,
mhm.
do some sort of experiment, and there was talk of like, what is gonna happen here? It was more so like, is a black hole gonna rip in the
Yeah.
middle of our Earth? Um, I didn't really think about this time of opening up a simulation, but
Where they're talking about punching through the simulation to the background
yeah,
codes. Yeah, to me, I mean, that doesn't really make sense. Like, you wouldn't program your program to break itself like that.
mm.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you
unless
do
you,
that?
unless you wanted to, unless you're like, let's see how far they can go, and that's like the ultimate end of the game.
I mean, I guess. But then, like, what to what point? Like, why? Like, what would be the reasoning for that? Like, because like, if you were like running some in every like video games that we have, right? It's like there is stuff in the game you just can't do, no matter how good it is. That you can't go to this border edge. You can't do this thing. Blah 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 blah. And you might say, oh well, we can't go beyond the moon because we haven't done that. Well, we've sent stuff out there. We can track stuff, right? It's like we know you can do it. It's just a matter of having technology to do it, right? It's not so much like, hey, there's an invisible barrier here. I can't move past it because the game hasn't like built that programming of it. It's like, or it's like, oh, if you climb over this mountain and your limbs start to like grow exponentially because you hit a glitch and it's just like, spaghettifying you that way. It's just
Mhm.
kind of, it doesn't make sense that you would build a program to find its to punch a hole in itself and break it. Like that seems like that would waste a lot of money if break your own program. Like the Large Hadron Collider, right? They haven't built that to purposely break itself. That thing's expensive. Like, why would you do that?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Um,
Are we into the theories portion now, or
we're in final thoughts.
final thoughts? Okay.
Sounds like you had some final thoughts there.
Yeah. So I guess I can go a little bit deeper into my thoughts on simulation theory. While fun, to think about, I think the problem with it lies in the fallacy of it. People calculating it based on the infinity thing. It's like, well, mathematically speaking, there's it's possible there's advanced civilizations out there that would create something like this. We would be part of it, and just the probability of that, because it's infinite, means that we're more likely to be in it. I don't buy that. I think that's too convenient and to use the math like that, and it just doesn't really jive to what point. I mean, we covered some of the things. Like, I could buy it more like maybe you're a brain in a jar, and it's like in the Matrix, the movie, like you're hooked up to this thing, and people are just like happy to be in there because life is so crappy in the real world. So they just come back to a normal world that isn't quite so bad. But even so, it's like you think you would kind of program it so people still didn't have such crappy lives inside the normal world, right? So it's like, why?
Well, I guess in the Matrix, they talked about it briefly. It's like, I think they created really positive worlds in the beginning, the robots, but it wasn't.
It broke the people's brains because they couldn't, they didn't have the choices or the illusion of choice for it. Like if everything's perfect, then it's unsatisfying, even if you're experiencing the crappiness. I think they kind of ran an experiment like that. What was it called? Rat City or something like that. This was more like an experiment to kind of show you the fallacies of communism and socialism, but it's an interesting experiment. So it's like they took some rats and they kind of gave it everything they wanted, like the perfect rat life, right? They gave it all the food it wanted and everything like that. And like, the first generation, they got like really fat or whatever. And then they like bred like crazy because it was like optimal conditions. But then it just like destroyed itself because it was like too optimal. And it was just like there was no hardship or any struggle for the rats. So they didn't feel like doing anything, and they didn't even like mate. They got to that point because there was like, they didn't need to. So it's like, you kind of see some of that going on in society today, but I think that's more of a condition of that experiment more so than like the simulation theory. But I don't know. What do you think? Are you leaning more toward it being a real thing, or
No?
I
think my main thing is motivation. It seems too, and just the amount of resource have to go into it. I mean, it seems like for an advanced civilization, alien, robot, or whatever, even if their way of thinking is different from our own, I just think it would be, why would they want to put so much into this? Like,
yeah. And even kind of like too, it's like if you were a civilization and you wanted to, say, I want to simulate how our ancestors, see what happened to that society, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to make this program, but you wouldn't need something running with graphics and stuff to simulate the data that would be extracted from that, right? So it's like now with AI, like if you tell AI is like, hey, can you summarize, I don't know, War and Peace for me in a paragraph? It'll just do it. It doesn't like read you everything and then like tell you the summary. It just gives you the data, right? So it's like they could just, if you have that much computational power anyways, you could just get the data you want like that. You wouldn't need to actually run the graphics right? So that sounds like a nail in a coffin to me for it. Plus, it discredits so many other things, religion and the things that people experience like that. Like you wouldn't program a simulation to have that much in it. Like you would only need certain things out of it. You wouldn't have everything in the data, right? Like there is no need for a simulation to program my mouse pad's texture, right? It like that's dumb. Why would it? So that's my thoughts on it. I kind of like more the ideas like the universe as being acts like a computer. kind of
Hmm.
like all the mechanisms and movements within the universe are kind of like, regulated in a certain way to everything happens in a certain way. So it functions like a giant mechanical computer almost. But I think that's kind of a topic for something else. But like
Right.
when you're talking about like way out there computer theories, I think that's better than simulation theory. And then too, with the synchronicities and stuff like that, these things that pop up, I think people are quick to attribute that to, oh, that means we're in a simulation because this thing, it could be something else. There's another phenomenon that we don't understand, or just, coincidence, if
Hmm.
you believe in coincidences. But I mean, it could be something like, maybe the other side is pushing stuff to you to kind of get your attention. It's not necessarily in the program.
Mhm.
That's my thoughts. I don't know. Maybe I'm cynical. Maybe I just believe in the human condition and it's not boiled down to us just being a bunch of zeros and ones running through an infinite computer cycle.
Well, that's positive view, Josh. So
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I have a heart a little bit. It's
Good.
it's there.
Good.
Kind of.
Well,
Unless my heart's a simulation. I don't know.
well, I know a
I've been
keen
told.
your heart, Josh, is drawing. So
Yeah.
let's do our little
Oh
game.
yeah.
We draw.
Okay.
What
What are we gonna draw today?
Maybe whatever, a person or whoever, someone trapped in a matrix.
Trapped in a okay. That's a tall order in our time frame, but we'll try it.
I don't know what else to do.
Okay. A person. How about maybe a brain in a vat
Okay.
or
All
something
right.
like that, or person, whatever. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to add our little thing to the stage here. All right, go.
Will they draw? We wonder. Will it be a house, a cat, or thunder? Oh no, no, the pictures suck, oh dear. But we cheer them on, the friends, let's hear. Josh is sketching something around. Zane's lines are all over town. Crayons flying, colors burst, but their art is the worst.
All right.
All right.
I think you're in control. I think you're on the right side, your side to go first.
Am I? Okay. See if I can make myself bigger here. Nope, it's you.
It's me. Okay, so
Okay, you go first.
here we go. It's
Okay. It's
not
a
a
person.
brain. Person on a computer trapped in
Okay.
a computer.
I like it all the way down. Simulation all the way down. Okay, that's a good one, Zane.
All right.
You draw very fast, bigly.
Draw very fast. What?
Bigly, like big.
Okay.
All right, let's see here. All right, now let's see if I can go. And there we go. All right, here goes my picture. Very tiny. It's a brain in a vat.
Okay. All right.
It kind of looks more like a testicle. It's not really. Oh my god, that wasn't.
A peanut in a box.
We're all just peanuts in a vat, Zane.
Very nihilistic. Well, I apologize to our winner or our listeners. Maybe in another simulation somewhere, I wouldn't be coughing so much and sounding horrible during this, but whatever. It's
the
the
simulation didn't want you talking about the simulation.
That's what it is. Those damn programmers.
First rule of Sim Club: don't talk about Sim Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's our episode for this week. It's it's a lot about peanuts stuck in a box. So it's interesting one. I think Josh and I, it's one of the times I think we kind of agree both that it's probably a little too out there for it to be true.
Yeah, not my bag, but maybe it's your bag, listeners. And if it is, let us know in the comments or send us a message at heyguys@telltaleguys.com and give us your theory, or if you think we're stupid because we don't think we're a bunch of 8-bit pixels in a computer simulation, then let us know, I guess. And maybe next time we won't wear glasses and you can yell at us about the next episode.
Fantastic. See you in other reality.
We're pixels in a virtual game. Reality's just code with another name. Josh and Zane with sunglasses bright. Cracks of neon cutting through the night. Zane's voice glitches with a synthetic joke. Wired up and wondering if reality's a joke. Binary whispers beneath his skin, questioning the world we're living in. In the simulation, twisting and bending. Question marks around everything ending. Is this life just a digital playground? Josh Dow's turtles are spiraling down. We dance on the fractal edge of fate. Zeros and ones determine our state. Electric winds blow through our hair, glimpsing truth in encoded air. Light pulses with every step we take. Threads of existence start to quake. Are we players or merely caught in the show? Question everything we think we know. In the simulation, twisting and bending. Question marks around everything ending. Is this life just a digital playground? Josh Dow's turtles are spiraling down. We're pixels in a virtual game. Reality's just code with another name. Josh and Zane with sunglasses bright. Cracks of neon cutting through the night.